Okay, so NIO, huh? They've been making headlines. Big moves, exciting stuff. Did you catch that whole thing about them launching these two new car brands?
Yeah, it's certainly turning heads in the industry.
One of them is even codenamed Firefly. I don't know about you, but that little detail, it kind of piqued my interest. What's the deal with that?
It is intriguing, isn't it? It speaks to, I think, a broader strategy we are seeing with NIO, especially with this recent investment news.
Right, right. Almost $500 million. That's not chump change. You don't just throw that kind of money around, especially what with market being the way it is these days, kind of all over the place.
Exactly, especially in the EV market.
Makes you wonder, what's the bigger picture here? What does this say about NIO and, I don't know, where they fit into this whole EV landscape, especially in China, I mean?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? Where does this all fit in, right? I mean, EV startups, they're notorious for being, well, cash hungry. It's a constant race to innovate, and to scale up production, which of course means burning through capital and fast.
Yeah, it's a tough business.
It really is. One of the articles even mentioned that NIO, they were projected to burn through something like, get this, like $3 billion this year alone.
$3 billion. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cash to burn through, even for a company like NIO.
Exactly. And while, they ended the last quarter with a decent chunk of change, like around $6 billion in cash on hand, which, is nothing to sneeze at, it really does underscore how significant this new investment is.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's not just about keeping the lights on.
No, no. This is about, securing their future, their runway for some very, very ambitious plans.
So it's more like fuel for a rocket launch than like a quick pit stop.
Precisely. And the markets seem to agree. I mean, we've seen price target increases from, well, some big players, like Daiwa, Citi. It suggests that this is, it's a vote of confidence in NIO's long-term potential.
Right, everyone's watching them, waiting to see what they do next.
Exactly.
Which brings us to China's economic game plan. They've been making some pretty big moves too, haven't they? I mean, cutting interest rates, stimulus packages. It's like they are hitting the gas.
They are indeed. And it's this aggressive approach to economic stimulus is, well, it's having a fascinating ripple effect, especially in the EV market where China is, already leading the charge.
So help me understand this. How does how does their economic policy, especially these lower interest rates, how does that get more people to, actually buy an electric car?
Well, okay, think of it like this. Lower interest rates. What does that mean? That means loans become more affordable, right?
Right.
So when loans are cheaper, it's like those big purchases, like a car. They become a little less scary, a little more attainable
Huh.
for a lot of people.
I gotcha. Yeah, it's that feeling when, like, your favorite band, right? They announce a surprise tour, and all of a sudden those concert tickets, the expensive concert tickets, don't seem so bad.
Yeah, exactly. It's that, hey, why not? Let's do this.
Right.
And this whole financial incentive thing, it's huge in a market like China, where EV adoption is already, I mean, they're miles ahead of other places.
Yeah, for sure.
They're already on board with the whole electric vehicle thing, and now you add this push, this extra push from the government, and, well, you could be looking at some serious, serious growth.
It's like they're pouring gasoline on a fire that's already burning pretty strong.
Exactly.
So for NIO, you've got this perfect storm brewing, right? They've got the investment, they've got these huge plans, and now they have China's, very EV-friendly policies. I mean, that puts them in a pretty sweet spot, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. They're in a great position, no doubt. But, and this is important, it's not just about riding the wave. Remember we talked about NIO launching those two new brands, those more affordable brands?
Right, yeah.
That tells me that they are thinking long term. They're playing a much bigger, more strategic game here.
Right. The Firefly one and the other one. It's a bold move. I mean, I don't envy them, to be honest. Launching two new brands at the same time, that takes guts. It takes resources, planning, not to mention you got to really understand what people want, what they're looking for in a car,
It's a lot to manage, that's for sure.
to say the least. So what's the thinking there with the whole multi-brand approach?
Yeah.
What's the upside? I mean, I get it, more cars, more buyers, but it's got to be more complicated than that, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's way more nuanced than that. Think of it like this. You know how, like, traditional car companies, they have all these different brands, right?
Right, yeah.
And each brand, it kind of targets a different kind of buyer. Like, you've got your luxury brands, your budget-friendly options, everything in between.
Makes sense.
So with Firefly and this other new brand, it seems like NIO is trying to do that same thing, diversify. They want to appeal to, well, to everyone, basically.
Yeah.
To folks who can drop some serious cash on their premium models, but also, those looking for something a little more, shall we say, budget-friendly.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, huh?
Exactly. They're hedging their bets, covering all their bases. Smart move, especially in a market as cutthroat as China.
Makes sense. So potentially a whole lot more NIO cars on the road if they get this right. I mean, if
Yeah.
they can nail the pricing, the models, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely, it could be huge for them. But you hit the nail on the head there. They got to get it right. The Chinese EV market, it's not for the faint of heart. It's a crowded field, tons of competition.
Yeah, it's anyone's game at this point.
Exactly. But hey, that's what makes it exciting, right?
For sure. So, okay, let's zoom out for a second. Big picture time. NIO snags a massive investment. China goes all in on stimulating their economy. And oh yeah, NIO decides to throw a couple of new brands into the mix. Talk about a wild ride.
That's the EV market for you. Always something going on, never a dull moment.
That's for sure. So what's your big takeaway here? What's the one thing you want folks to remember from all of this?
Well, I think the biggest thing to remember is even though NIO, they're looking pretty good right now, all this momentum, it's not a guarantee. The Chinese EV market, it's tough, it's unpredictable, and well, there's no shortage of companies vying for that top spot.
It's a tight race.
Absolutely. So, yeah, NIO's got a fighting chance. They really do. But they got to execute, no mistakes. They got to be on their A game every step of the way.
So buckle up, everyone, because it's going to be a wild ride. Whether NIO becomes, the next Tesla or if they just kind of fade into the background, only time will tell. But one thing's for sure is this is a story we'll be keeping a close eye on. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.